celebration of Juneteenth at Unitarian Universalist Community of Charlotte. I am Kelly Greene, Director of Member Relations. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for being with us today. Our opening words are from Adrienne Marie Brown, written for Juneteenth 2020. Today, we continue the work of burning down slavery. Today, we cannot be distracted from the target. Today, we cannot be kept from the joy. Today, we cannot be made small. Today, we can only be free. It is so good to be with you this morning. For those of you online, we invite you to go to our Facebook page and greet other people watching in the comments there. If you are in this room or downstairs in the Bernstein room, this is our time to say good morning to other people in the room. So let's greet people we know, people we don't yet know, and let every person know we are glad they're here. On this Juneteenth, as we begin our worship, let us begin, as some African and African American traditions have through the ages, by honoring the ancestors. This is recognition that none of us here is here solely because of our own efforts. On this table are photos of some of my ancestors. They struggled, they loved, they dreamed, they celebrated, they worked. They passed their joy and wisdom through to me so that I could live this beautiful life. Today, I light our chalice in gratitude to the ancestors and to invite them to be with us as we commemorate Juneteenth.
The Stuff of Astounding, a poem for Juneteenth by Patricia Smith. Unless you spring from a history that is smug and reckless,
unless you vowed yourself blind to a ceaseless light, you see us.
We are Shay Shine Toddler, riding through Sunday sermon.
We are the grizzled elder unfolding his last body.
And we are intent and insistent upon the human in ourselves.
We are the doctor on another day at the edge of reason, coaxing a wrong hope, ripping open a gasping body to find air.
We are 5 men dripping from the burly branches of young trees.
Which is to say, we dare a world that is both predictable and impossible.
What else can we learn from suicides of the cuffed, the soft targets blackbacks be?
Stuck in its rhythmic unreal, time keeps including us, even as our aged root is doggedly plucked and trampled, cursed by ham-fisted spitters in the throes of a particular fever.
See how we push on as enigma? The free out loud, the audaciously unleashed. How slyly we scan the sky, all that wet voltage and scatters of furious star, to realize that we are the recipients of an ancient grace.
No, we didn't begin to live when, on the 19th day of June of that awkward, ordinary spring, with no joy and a monotone, still flecked with deceit,
seems you and the others, and these others are free.
That moment did not begin our breath.
Our truths, the ones we'd been birthed with, had already met reckoning in the fields as we muttered tangled nouns of home.
We reveled in black from there to now. Our rampant hue and nap, the unbridled breath that resists in the rafters, from then to here, everything we are is the stuff of astounding.
We are a mother who hums snippets of gospel into the silk curls of her newborn. We are the harried sister on the elevator to the weekly paycheck Mama dreamed for her.
We are black in every way there is. Perm and kink, upstart and elder, wide voice, fervent whisper.
We heft our clumsy homemade placards. We will grow small in the gloom weeping to old blues ballads.
We swear not to be anybody else's idea of free, lining up precisely, waiting to be freed again and again.
We are breach and bellow, resisting a silent consent as we claim our much of America, its burden and snarl, the stink and hallelujah of it, its sickness and safe words, all its black and otherwise.
Only those feigning blindness fail to see the body of work we are, and the work of body we have done.
Everything is what it is because of us.
It is misunderstanding to believe that free fell upon us like a blessing, that it was granted by a signature and an abruptly opened door.
Listen to the 1,000 ways to say black out loud.
Hear a whole people celebrate their free and fragile lives. Then find your own place in that song.
Make the singing matter.
Juneteenth, or as the now federal holiday is officially called, Juneteenth, National Independence Day, is also known as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, and Black Independence Day. This is the holiday commemorating the end of centuries of slavery in the United States and is observed annually on June 19th. Why this day, this date? It was on this day in 1865 that news of emancipation finally reached an enslaved community in Galveston, Texas. The people of Texas are informed, read the announcement that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. Reports of that June 19th declare that formerly enslaved people began an immediate celebration with prayer, feasting, song, and dance. The next year, the very next year, on June 19th, 1866, The first official Juneteenth celebrations took place in Texas, complete with prayer meetings, the singing of spirituals, and celebrants wearing new clothes, representative of their newfound freedom. And within a few decades, African Americans in other states were celebrating the day as well, helping to make it an annual tradition. I was an adult in my 30s before I knew of this celebration. Living in Houston, not far from Galveston, where that fateful announcement took place, only then did I learn of what had been a state holiday in Texas since 1980. And only last year, was Juneteenth made a federal holiday. Just as the news of emancipation traveled very, very slowly to Texas, so too news of this celebration has traveled even more slowly to certain people and communities ever since. Today, we owe a debt of gratitude to Kelly and to Jolena, whose energy and effort have helped foster this UUCC observation and celebration. Is this a celebration for all of us? Absolutely. How could we possibly share the values that we do and not delight in this occasion? Is this the same kind of celebration for all of us? No, it is not. Aware of how a white supremacy culture tends to focus on, center, aggrandize the white experience, white involvement, white heroism, white historical figures, the relevance of things to white folks. Juneteenth offers those of us who are not black the opportunity to step back, to decenter our experience. Juneteenth offers us an occasion not to share what we've read, the work we've done, the people we know, the historical figures we admire, the opinions we have, the conclusions we've drawn. Rather, in our respectful celebration, we can simply learn, appreciate, support, encourage even. We can help create space without having to take up space. It's our opportunity to celebrate in part by decoupling the relentless association of blackness with suffering, oppression, injustice, and inequity, and instead appreciate associating blackness with joy. Over and over we have sung, have heard in this place, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We cannot. We must not. However, we can and we should, indeed we must, find times and ways to celebrate along the way. Happy Juneteenth.
Hello, my name is Kai Zanton, and I will be reading a quote from Maya Angelou. Hold those things that tell your history and protect them. During slavery, who was able to read or write or keep anything? The ability to have somebody to tell your story to is so important. It says, I was here. I may be sold tomorrow, but you know I was here.
When I think of my ancestors and all they did to make my life possible, I feel obligated to not just work hard and do good. They would insist that I also enjoy my life, that I infuse my days with Black joy. Cleaver Cruz of the Black Joy Project notes that Black joy is a type of internally driven happiness that can happen when someone consciously chooses pleasure as a way to combat the traumas of racism. I agree when he says, it honestly feels like an ancestral responsibility. Journalist Anika Okona writes that Black joy is much more than deciding to be happy and to have fun. She calls choosing to embrace joy intentional, radical subversion. My favorite example of Black joy was my mom and her identical twin sister, my Aunt Lori, laughing. Big, high-pitched, open-mouthed laughter that carried across rooms, through walls, down hallways. Their combined joyous explosion was brighter than either of them could produce without the other. It was their release of all the emotion trapped beneath the armor of pleasant smiles they had to wear elsewhere. Their laughter was often incited by one of them letting loose some difficult truth about what they'd had to endure outside of home, and turning that into the joy of laughing with your sissy. Here's how it can look in my life. Last month, when my aunt was dying and my mom was ill, there was a massacre of Black folks on the east side of Buffalo, where every one of those ancestors once lived. I was so upset, so angry, so hurt that just being Black makes us unsafe anywhere. I checked on my people. I had a lovely conversation with an elderly relative who lives there. And then I made myself some really good collard greens. And while I did, I danced and I sang around the kitchen. And everything feels good with the world when I'm dancing. Then I found some grassroots organizations to support and wrote my elected officials again. I let the conversation and the collards and the music lift me out of despair and move me toward action. I cannot let hate, indifference, and negativity seep into my soul. If I did, I wouldn't have the energy to fight, and nothing is going to get better by inaction. I strengthen myself with joy so that I can continue to work for justice. Joy is resistance to people who say, maybe Black lives matter, but not quite as much as those of people who've been in power all along. Joy is resistance to people who say, Black folks have some inherent worth and dignity, but who don't want to be held accountable for behaving as if we have equal worth and dignity. To me, joy feels like connection to the divine. And when I feel that, I am ready to do whatever is necessary to make liberation real.
is gonna be set free. I'm gonna lift my voice today. I asked Jay, I said, do I go up? He said, if you can. I'm not sure. Thank you. What Juneteenth means to me. A title that now sounds like the beginning of a third grade paper. But when I first suggested sharing this reflection, I had this vision in my mind that I would show pictures to represent what Juneteenth meant to me. Each picture would be accompanied by a short statement that started with, what Juneteenth means to me. I was going to deliver it with this rhythmic cadence that, with the photos, would feel more like a performance than a red reflection. But a graduating high schooler last week and my desire to be present for them as much as I could leading up to their graduation day, that meant my oh so creative idea would have to remain just that, an idea. Yes, I was still going to offer a reflection, but I forgot to change the title. What Juneteenth means to me. Seriously, I invite you to join me in a reflection that will wind and twist because my thoughts about what Juneteenth means to me aren't linear. I may go off on a tangent, but I will always try to bring you back. And if you get really lost, remember that this journey into my mind and my heart is being recorded. So you can always go back and try to figure out what I was saying. So let me step back and then forward again. My oldest child graduated from high school last week. This event is an example of what Juneteenth means to me. It means celebrating with my ancestors, my Black child, because that's how I see them, in their accomplishment. Alex is, and Alex's accomplishments are because of their ancestors and elders. Alex is a big piece of my Black joy. And so is Kai, my youngest. He finished middle school this year and will be headed to high school in Massachusetts. He will be taking with him that budding, deep, Black timbered voice of his ancestors. He will be taking this voice that his ancestors and puberty gave him. He will be carrying all the parenting, other mothering, other fathering, other caregiving we and the village that we created for him has provided up to this point, into a predominantly white institution that is working hard to be inclusive, but may not always succeed. Juneteenth is a reminder to him to use the voice and freedom gifted to him by his ancestors and his elders. For me, Juneteenth is about the hope for my children to continue to be activists for racial justice and all social justices. Juneteenth is about Breonna Taylor and all the ancestors robbed of their freedom. She represents that for me. I will say no more than Ashe on that one. Juneteenth is a reminder to me to embrace what was lost and to celebrate what has been found. You see, I did not know about Juneteenth until I was asked to lead a workshop for children on it a few years ago. Shout out to my sister in cloth. And by that, I mean, we're from the same quilt, Becky Schischler. Those who know me well will know that I say yes to a request that I have absolutely no idea how to do or what it's about. But my yes is sincere. I'm saying, yes, I'll have an answer by the time I need to show up. For me, Juneteenth is about celebrating my potential as my current reality. For me, Juneteenth is about scowling at the table topics question from last night at dinner with my in-laws and husband, who is white, my sister Gerald and children. The table topic was, what country are your people from? From those who are not in the room. My people come from Juneteenth and all the days before and after that. So there. Juneteenth is Roz or Roslyn, Gerald, Ike or Isaiah III, Robert and Freddie, the 5 olders to my youngest of 7. The 5 siblings with my mother, Mary Edith Taylor James, and my father, Isaac James Jr., traveled from Louisiana to California. My mother was 30, my father was 35. Rosalind, the oldest, was 10, and Freddie, exactly 6 years younger than Rosalind, yes, they were born on the same day, was 4. As a part of the Great Migration, these 7 ancestors and elders of mine traversed through Texas, the birthplace of Juneteenth, with no options for lodging, whites only, in 92-degree weather in a Chevy Impala with no air conditioning. Enough said. My Juneteenth celebrates that my family made it. Juneteenth is about one of my best friends, the 6th to my 7th, my sister Karen. My sister has devoted her life to serving as an educator to all youth, but always in predominantly Black and brown schools. My sister understands the assignment. She sees our children and the families from which they come and all their Black joy, despite the oppression of the environment we continue to allow. My sister is Juneteenth to me. Every day, she continues to fight to celebrate and liberate Black and brown bodies. As some of you may know, my father transitioned this year. I was fortunate enough to talk to him about Juneteenth. I thought it was going to be one of those smug, joyous moments where a child gets to school his, her, or their parent. Nope. My father already knew about Juneteenth. Not only did he know about it, he had celebrated it in his childhood and growing up. He didn't celebrate it when I was growing up, but it was definitely part of his childhood. He couldn't recall, though, when he had stopped. My mother had already transitioned and she held most of the memory of things, so I couldn't ask her, but I did ask my aunt, who was born and raised in Los Angeles. She was jubilant in sharing that, yes, she and her family celebrated Juneteenth. I didn't ask her why they had stopped. I didn't want to know. Lately, I've been thinking about not why it ceased to exist in certain families and locations such as mine, and instead celebrated the efforts and persistence of Miss Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth. Because of her and others, I'm sure, Juneteenth is a national holiday, and my children and I can step into the legacy of Juneteenth. Ashe, Miss Opal Lee. I'm almost done. Juneteenth is about my brother Freddie, who taught me my first dance, the hustle. Do any of you remember the hustle? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. He taught me in our family room. Yes, growing up, we had a room called the family room. It was not until I was writing this reflection that I realized that the name of this room may not be what other families had. And no, it was not the same as what we now call the bonus room. It was the largest room in my house, 1225 South Wilton Place. This room could and did seat 40 people for our holiday dinners. Sit down. Having a room called the family room was as normal to me as the living room and the dining room, rooms that we weren't allowed to go into. The only difference was that you could play in the family room. The family room. Juneteenth was about the family room. Do y'all get how powerful that was? My parents actually named a room the family room. So I say mommy and daddy. Juneteenth is also about my brother Freddie, who died in prison. Our carceral system and the 13th Amendment that freed and birthed a new type of bondage. My brother was his little sister's protector, Karen and I. He made sure we never got into drugs. He was adamant about it. I ride on this ancestor's shoulders. I celebrate the liberation he wanted to make sure that I had. Juneteenth is about my nieces and nephews in order of age. Janet, Freddie, Cassandra, Rachel, Juan, Crystal, Joseph, Gabrielle, Angela, Jocelyn, little Isaiah, who's 33 now, Megan, Courtney, and little Robert. I see myself as their elder. If you're watching, stop laughing. Stop laughing. I am your elder because I did not have to sit at the children's table with you. But folks, these are my babies. Juneteenth is all about my family, especially those who come after me. Juneteenth is about dressing in my Sunday's best. Look at my sister over there. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Fabulous. Juneteenth is about my people's children, those that are and those that will be. Juneteenth is about my elders in all the forms in which they come. Juneteenth is about my ancestors. What does Juneteenth mean to me? Juneteenth is about celebrating my people. Thank you, and I say.
Welcome. I know you're glad that you are in this room today or watching this service remotely, and we are happy to welcome you into both settings. We're pleased to have guests with us in this room and participating also through our live stream. Our members would like to greet those of you who are here following the service. So if you are visiting, would you please raise your hand and keep it up for just a moment so that we can look around and see who you are. Take a look around you, notice guests, make sure they get a warm welcome and an invitation to join us in Freeman Hall following the service. If you're visiting by way of our live stream or viewing an archived version of this service, we would also welcome an opportunity to connect with you. You can reach out to our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Greene. You can email her. We know this now. You can email her at KELLY@UUCCharlotte.org. Should it enhance your experience of future services, we offer large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and we have an elevator available as well. Welcome to each of you, visitor and member alike. This week, Unitarian Universalists will gather, some in Portland, Oregon, and many more virtually, for our General Assembly. These are trying days for our liberating religion. These are trying days for our liberating religion, as we wrestle with issues more than a little related to today's service. While most of us will neither go to Portland nor watch virtually, we can share in one of the high points of this annual gathering, the Sunday service. The UUA's General Assembly Sunday service will be our service next week. However, because it is an in-person service in Portland, Oregon, they will not begin that service at 10 o'clock Eastern time for understandable reasons. So we're going to adjust our schedule to accommodate the UUA's General Assembly Sunday service schedule. So we hope that you will join us here next Sunday for a time in Freeman Hall that will begin around 11:45. We're going to have coffee and tea, maybe other beverages. We're inviting you to bring snacks, to have a snack potluck, as it were. Then we'll watch the service in that more casual setting together. you can drink coffee during the service. So please keep in mind, our service next week is the GA service, and it will begin with an opportunity for connecting in Freeman Hall around 11:45, and then we'll gather for a welcome for our portion at 12:15. In addition to bidding you a joyous Juneteenth, we wish a happy Father's Day to all fathers, to grandfathers, to father figures, and we hold with compassion all who are missing their dads on this day. I'm glad that you are in this room aware that some who would like to be here cannot be. You've seen from the slides that our drummer, Eric Wilhelm, was to be with us, and he's the latest in many in this congregation who tested positive, and we send our good thoughts to Eric today. Some of you are aware of the outbreak that occurred at the Mountain, our UU retreat center this week. We have a number of kids, a couple of ascenders, an adult, all of whom were there and who have been impacted by this. It's the reason I'm wearing my mask today, having made a quick trip yesterday to retrieve a couple of those kids. Our hearts open on this day as we hold in our prayers Amanda Cipoletti, who continues in her recovery from surgery. We send our love to Tom Cole and to Carol Hartley. Tom is hospitalized this morning. Jenny Sullivan, we're thinking of you and your family, your concern for your great-granddaughter and for your sister. We remember in our prayers and with love Sandy and Bob Vermillion as Sandy recovers from surgery. Their candles on stands before you. During the playing of the offering music, you're welcome to come forward if today marks some special occasion of joy, celebration, concern, or remembrance for you. Again, welcome.
This is my favorite. An Offering for Different Social Classes by Frances Cozier. As a self-funded congregation, we do always need money, but we also need volunteers and social justice activists and friendly smiles and diversity. So if you are ever unable to donate, you are still always welcome here. No questions asked. We are grateful for anything you feel able and willing to give. May the baskets be circulated. If you wonder, worry, or doubt about how you're doing the day,
listen for Harriet whispering to you.
my people are free.
Not will be, but are.
Act accordingly.
God's gonna build up Zion's walls.